Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast, hosted by Renita Davis, licensed clinical social worker, board-approved social work clinical supervisor, and facilitator of the Goddesses of Social Work supervision community. Join us as we travel through the social work journeys told by the Goddesses of Social Work community members, past and present, as they make their way toward clinical licensure.
Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. I'm your host, Renita Davis, and today I'm joined by Yolanda Evans as we kick off a powerful new series leading up to our upcoming event, the Remember Me documentary screening and community gathering hosted by the Central Alabama Aging Consortium on November 1st, 2025. Yolanda Evans, born and raised in the charming city of Troy, Alabama, growing up in a close-knit community, she developed a strong sense of compassion and a drive to make a positive impact in the community. The daughter of a retired Army sergeant and retired seamstress, she learned very quickly the value of empathy, the spirit of determination, and the value of supporting others. Yolanda pursued a bachelor's degree in social science with a major in psychology from Troy University and obtained a master's degree in human service counseling, concentration in family and marriages from Liberty University. While pursuing her master's degree, Yolanda served in the United States Army, where she sharpened her leadership skills and dedication to serving others. Currently, Yolanda serves as the executive director of Central Alabama Aging Consortium, area agency on aging for the Tri-County area. In addition to her professional endeavors, she is married to her best friend, and they are very proud parents of a joyful 5-year-old son. As the youngest of 5 siblings, she learned to bring a sense of warmth and understanding to family dynamics, cherishing the bonds that unite them together. Yolanda, welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad you're here because, one, I love hearing people's stories, but two, you have so graciously said yes to hosting our next event, the Remember Me documentary screen filming and community gathering on November 1st. So I'm really excited. I'm like, I want to get the word out. I want to tell people about you and all your programs. And we're excited that people are going to show up on November 1st, and you're kicking us off by coming on the podcast today. So thank you.
You're welcome. We are excited as well.
Yay. Yolanda, I love reading people's bios. That's my favorite thing to do. One of my favorite things to do. And I love pulling things out of it. And I want to tell you, thank you for your service to our country by serving in the Army. But I see that you were the daughter of an Army sergeant. So I'm wondering, was your road to military service, was it inevitable?
In a way, it was. Even though I started my military career very late, I really had no intention of going into the military. Of course, my dad retired military. All of my brothers went military. So I wanted to be the oddball out and not go. But as years progressed and learning more about the military history, my family history, my grandfather was in the military. He served and he retired. So it almost felt like it was inevitable for me to do it. But I was going totally against it initially. But something just kind of pulled me to it. My brothers always talked to me about how good the military programs are after you get out of the military, the advances of being in the military, and just the growth in the leadership skills you can get from the military. So I kind of got pulled into it, but I think it's in our DNA. And I tried to go against it, but it did not work. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time in the service. It just made me a better person, a better human being. So I'm proud of the fact that I was able to serve in the United States Army.
I love that. I love that you said it was in your DNA. And when you just said that, Yolanda, I was thinking about how, well, you said you were a little late in getting your military career started. And sometimes people will not do something because they think they're, a little late in getting something started. And that made me wonder, like, were you scared to join? Like, what did it take for you to go ahead and join and push past that?
And it's funny you said that. What it actually took was someone to tell me that you are too old to go into the military.
I love that. Yeah.
So, in my mind, you're not going to tell me what I can and what I cannot do. I am going to defeat it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to progress, and I'm going to do well at it. So, just going into the military as late in age, competing against 18, 19-year-olds. And honestly, when I was in the military during those time, I was in my late 20s, and I blew those teenagers out the water. Because someone told me, "Oh, you couldn't do it. You can't do it." So I had to prove them wrong. I just did. So that was really the thing, that really pushed me to say, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I'm going to do this not for just to prove you wrong. I'm going to do it for myself because I feel like I can do it because I want to do it.
I love that. And you know what? I didn't really connect to that last sentence of your bio till you just said that in regards to as the youngest of five siblings. And
Mhm.
so I'm imagining little Yolanda is thinking, having all these older siblings. I don't know if they were all brothers, and them telling you not you couldn't do anything, and that just being in you, like you're
Yes.
not going to tell me I can't do something.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was I have three brothers and a sister. So mostly it was on the boys' side, of course. But yeah, and growing up as the youngest daughter, not that I got bullied or not, but I was able to have strong, thick skin because I did have my older brothers.
I love that for you. I'm the oldest daughter, and there's all these memes and stuff going on about the oldest daughter, but I bet there's a lot the youngest could say.
Oh yes, I could probably write a book about being the
You
youngest.
should. You should write a book about being the youngest. But it also feels like it's helped propel you and keep you like challenged, being able to be in challenging situations. And so that's pretty cool. But Yolanda, we're talking about you being younger, right? And so before you became the executive director of the Central Alabama Aging Consortium here in Montgomery, what did you want to become, or who did you most admire growing up?
So it's when I was really young, from I can remember probably 6 or 7 years old, I always wanted to be a nurse. I love helping people. I enjoyed playing with my baby dog, put them in the hospital, putting band-aids on them, just doing that whole role playing and mind playing as a young kid. So I always really want to be a nurse growing up. And I'm not really sure where that came from. There's not anybody in my family that was a nurse, but just having that nurturing and caring spirit was something that was just was something that was inside of me. But as I grew older, I also had a look into want to be a lawyer. And the reason for that is being the youngest of the siblings, I love to argue or debate. And I think I was pretty good at it. So my brothers always tell me, "Oh, you should be a lawyer." Oh, okay. Well, that's a quality. That's a great thing. So sure, that's something I thought about for a little while. I even once I graduated from high school, I worked in the nursing field a little bit as a caregiver for a local residential home for seniors. I worked there after high school, and then I did start to pursue my career as a nurse going to school. But it didn't work out for me. I went for 2 years. Classes were very difficult. I'm not the best at math. And honestly, I changed my major twice during my career as in college. And I just really was trying to find things that I was really good at and what I was passionate about. So I took a social services class, and I just fell in love with it. Just learning about people, what makes them tick, just something that I just really felt like I was more driven to do. So that's how I ended up in the social work service, or social services field rather.
I love that. Yolanda, I'm thinking about something. You were right out of high school and you were a caregiver in an aged organ. What was that experience like? And was it usual and normal for young people to be caregivers at that such a young age in that agency?
It was not. I was actually the youngest in that particular facility, and it was coming from a small town in Troy. My dad knew of someone who was the manager of that facility. And he went to her. It's like, hey, my daughter, she's interested in nursing. Do you have anything for her during the summer just to kind of get her feet in the door? And that's where it all started. And I absolutely love working with those individuals as a caregiver. Just the stories they told, it was a walking, talking history book. Talking about, the history, their relationships, they gave the best relationship advice when it comes to just being people and friends. And the lady would talk to me about, once you get married, make sure you do these type of things as a married woman, and all the just the knowledge that they shared in the information that they poured into me. It was just a great experience, just to work with that population, and the love and the care that they showed while you was caring for them. They were very appreciative of just the small things that you've done with them, from playing card games with them. They taught me how to play Go Fish because I really didn't play it as a little kid. They just taught me little games and things, and just being involved and actually being a part of their family at that particular facility. So it was a really great experience.
You know what, Yolanda, that is such a beautiful answer. And, I'm thinking because you're right out of high school. So we're thinking 18, 19 years old, right? 18, 19,
18.
20.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I don't want to, I don't want to stereotype, but, it's one of the stereotypes is
Yeah.
adolescents are like poo-pooing any advice that any elderly person
Hmm.
or older person has to say to them. But listening to you, you're like, the advice they had to give me. Did
Hmm.
you recognize at 18 years old that you were being poured into, or did it take years later realizing all that they gave you to recognize what was happening for you?
I think a little bit of both. I think at first, it was just generalized talk telling me about their history and what they've been through, and kind of some things like, well, making sure you watch out for this as you're going to college and you're transitioning to your career. And some things were like, I guess, just planted seeds, that really didn't develop until I got older in life or further down my career, that it's actually clicked. Like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense now.
I have a teacher like that, Miss Wimberly. She told me something, and it took 5 years, and I literally heard her voice in my head 5 years later about something she said to me. So, yeah, I love that you were able to recognize it even in
Mhm,
that moment. But then, because they did plant those seeds in
mhm,
you, you were able to recognize them when they popped up. So that is beautiful.
mhm.
Yolanda, you already had started about your journey, your professional journey, how you got here. And so what I heard you say is you were in nursing school. I'm going to assume at Troy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you were at nursing school at Troy. That was not working. Look, I failed statistics twice, so I'm here with you with the math, and I don't know why social work degree makes us take statistics. I do now know why, but I failed it twice, so I totally hear you. But how did you come to find out about psychology? And then I'm curious to, how did that lead then to your master's degree in human service counseling?
I guess with my degree in social science and psychology, and honestly, I had a friend of mine that she was majoring in social sciences, and she was talking about her classes, what she was learning, and we actually worked together on an overnight shift at a assisted living facility. So I would actually take some of her books and read them throughout the night, throughout our breaks at work, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and I just kept reading, and I got to the point where, like, you know what? I want to change my major. So I changed it to social sciences. A lot of my credits transferred over, and then I dived into psychology. And I had this wonderful professor that made psychology seem like it was the best of the best. like any other major that you take on is just a waste of your time, because psychology is where it is when you're dealing with psychology of people's minds, their thoughts, their actions, their interactions, their socialization. It just encompasses all the things of being a human, and I just absolutely fell in love with it.
You were reading the books on the overnight shift. You were definitely
Yeah.
you were definitely in love with it. What
Yeah.
how did you lead what led you to getting your master's degree? I'm always curious about that story.
So what led me to get my master's degree is the fact that I wanted to dive more into it, of the psychology of it. I really initially thought I wanted to be a counselor. Um, so I worked towards that a little bit. And then when I was in the military, I saw a lot of things happen in the military that you probably don't see in like the generalized public. And so that really wanted me to gravitate towards that marriage and family counseling, especially when it comes to military personnel getting married, dealing with and their spouses being deployed, leaving behind children, the impact that it has, because a lot of people in the military have a very high divorce rate. So my intent was to get that degree, become a licensed counselor and whatnot, and open up my own practice for military personnel working with those type of clients. So that was something that, that military experience is really what drove me to that particular way of getting my master's degree, to kind of help out, those that I've actually worked so closely with.
I love that. And you know what? Thank you for doing that work. Thank you for wanting to
Mhm.
do that work. A lot of the people I get to talk to, not a lot, there's not a lot. I won't say that. But there are some social workers that I get to work with that say, I want to work with military personnel. And oftentimes they think that that means that you have to work at the VA. Now, yes, the VA is the number one, military installations are the number one employer
Mhm.
of social workers. But what I've learned over, the last decade or so is military personnel, they're everywhere.
Yes.
They're in all the agencies.
Yes.
You do not have to work specifically for a military based agency to work with military personnel, because they're in all of our communities. They're
Mhm.
in our churches and our grocery stores. And so, in what ways do you feel like you've been able to live out that dream of helping military personnel?
So before I uh, got out of the military, I was considered a peer counselor with my section. So I was able to work one on one with new incoming soldiers, kind of helping new to transition into that, civilian life, crossing over to military life. And to me, that was a service that a lot of people were not able to have. And I honestly think with some of these soldiers, especially being so young, coming out of school, just leaving mom and dad's house, they needed that extra guidance and that leadership. So I really think that is where I thrived in that, just to help those soldiers being able to transition and honestly have probably more likely have a better career throughout their military, because they did have that foundation.
Absolutely. And that's so interesting that you're talking about it as they come into the
Hmm.
military. What I've heard in my experiences have been, especially when I was teaching, because we were in Phoenix City, Columbus area, and I think it's
Hmm.
Fort Benning is right there. So I had a lot of students who came from Fort Benning. They struggled with leaving the military and going back into civilian life. And so
Right.
I know that there's programs put in place that people can take advantage of for the leaving military and going into civilian life. And even 10 years later, though, I still hear veterans saying that it's still a struggle for them
Yeah.
um, post military. And so the fact that you guys have those in place, I didn't know I was going to lean into this energy, but I'm here now, so let's do it.
Yeah.
One of the I'll call it myths, maybe, or stereotypes that you hear. My dad served in the military 21 years. He was in the Air Force.
Mhm.
So I'm a military brat. And I've had the honor of working with military personnel, but not serving. And so, again, thank you for your service. But one of the things I would hear a lot is that military personnel weren't able to express that they might have some mental health struggles because it would keep them from doing their duties. But hearing that there's a system in place for people to help you get acclimated to the military, knowing that there's systems in place that help get you acclimated to civilian service after your military service, it feels like there probably are now changes within the military that are happening that having mental health issues may not be as taboo as it once was. And I don't want to say I'm making that up, but I would love to hear from you and your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, with my dad being in the military, because to me, I would say that as old school military. And as things evolve, people evolve. Of course, my dad was saying, back when I go into military, you didn't go to sick call, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you were never hurt. That shows a sign of weakness. But of course, as we have evolved as humans, we become more in depth about mental health, the importance of mental health, and how your mental health can, deplete your capacity to do your job. And I think just with learning and education about mental health, the importance of mental health, and how it can be impactful to others in your actual job, I think the military is starting to do a much better job of actually incorporating those type of transitions to make sure that their soldiers are physically fit, mentally fit, so they can be able to do combat or whatever job they need to do while they're serving. So I think the military is starting to become a new military without having some of those old school taboo type situations, to where their soldiers are actually stronger mentally and physically.
Awesome. I think I would agree with you as well. I would agree. And again, like we said, the VA and military installations are the number one employer of social workers, and social workers deal a lot with mental health. So if they're our number one employer, then
Yeah.
apparently they must have a lot of programs in place that will help people with their mental health if they're in the military. So I like that you said it's a new military. It's a new.
Yeah.
We're going to transition a little bit into this to the CAAC and what it's meant for you to personally serve as executive director. But just like what we were talking about, we see veterans and military personnel in all types of agencies and spaces, and you have 18 programs. I think I counted 18 programs
Mhm.
at the CAAC alone. I'm
Mhm.
cu- you know. I'm curious, would you see military personnel and our veterans being served in your agency as well?
We do offer some services to military personnel that call in, but usually if they're military, they're also able to get those veteran
Mm.
services, and sometimes that may be an easier way or quicker way for them to be able to get services they need. But we do get calls from veterans in need of certain things, so we try to assist them as best that we can as well.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to ask you this question that I sent you last night, and wondering as we transition into serving as executive director of the CAAC. But
Mhm.
before you became executive director, was there a moment or a turning point that shaped the way you lead or serve now?
I would say yes. So I have had quite a few jobs before becoming executive director, obviously. And being in the military, I've been under a lot of leadership of various leaders and managers. And what I typically take away from that, in my opinion, there are two types of leaders. There are good ones and not so good ones. So what I took upon that, I took on the qualities of those and the characteristics of those that were good managers, that were good employees, how they made me feel, how they made their staff feel. And I kind of took on those roles as upon myself, that like, that's the kind of person that I want to be if I'm in a leadership role. And I also took note of the ones that were not so good, to tell me what not to do, what a leader should not do, how they made their staff feel less than. And I knew that's not the type of leadership that I wanted to pursue in any job that I had as a leader. So I really took note of those two type of things, and I really consider myself, I guess, a servant leader. I have an open door policy. with any of my team members. They can come to talk to me one-on-one about anything they want to talk to me about. I'm always gearing towards them working as a team. And mostly importantly, I express to my team about, again, taking care of your mental health. I really express that. I mean, I know you all work hard, they do certain things, they take on some the ability of their clients when their clients are stressed out and are in need, and they take on some of those emotions, but they have to tell them, take care of yourself. You cannot take care of others if you are not healthy. So I really, really dive into my team about doing so. Also, I really I work with my team, but also work for them as in the same aspect too. Because I just feel like we are a team, and in order for the agency to thrive, we have to work together as a team. And if one of the team members is lacking somewhere, someone else should be able to come along and help pick up the slack. And if that has to be me as executive director, I'm boots on ground. I'm out there with them, right there alongside them, and just pull them along the way. So that's how I think that things have really um, shaped me as the leader that I have become, and just learning that I can learn from them as well as they can learn from me, but also being there for them and understanding what's important to them. I understand some people see this as a job, some people see this as a career, but also there are more things that are important, like your family. There are other things that come first. And as a leader, you have to support that with them in order for them to feel like, that you have poured into them, that you actually care. And it's not just about you coming in and doing that job Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
And Yolanda, I believe I saw that in action when I came. You recently, and I forget what it was called, but it was a breakfast. Your agency had a breakfast, and I got invited
Mm-hmm.
by Monica Barnes, who's one of your coordinators.
Right.
And I left there feeling so excited. I think I ran to you. I wanted to be the first one to come and speak to you because your leadership with those 20 plus people who were in the room, they were nervous, they were speaking up, you were pushing them, but being encouraging with them. And I was like, I want to know who she is. I saw your leadership in action and was so inspired by it. And so you're not just saying this, I saw it in action, and I saw all of those beautiful women take your directive very easily. And even though they were scared, even though they may not have wanted to did it, they got up and they did it, and they did it beautifully. And I was so super impressed. And so I want to say I've witnessed this. You're not just talking it.
Yeah,
I
well,
have
thank you.
actually witnessed it. And
Thank
so
you.
yeah, you're doing it. All
Thank
right, darling. In saying that, and you kind of answered this question, what has it meant to you to personally serve as the executive director? And I think when I came up to you and I realized you were the executive director of this amazingly large organization, young brown sugar, I was like, girl.
you.
And you were like, girl. I was like, girl. So what has it meant to you to personally serve as executive director of CAAC?
It means a lot. It is an honor. It is a blessing. And it's also historical. The agency has been around for 50 years. I am the first woman of color to be in this position at which I consider myself as a very young age. So it's just a blessing. And I feel like I was implanted here for a reason. When I applied for the job, honestly, I didn't know what Central Alabama Aging Consortium was. I think I probably was having a bad day at my previous job and went on Indeed and just applied for every job that was possibly in my feet that was dealing with management or directing or anything. And I didn't think anything of it once, I left the Indeed page, and a couple of days later, sure enough, I got a phone call. I talked to the HR, and they told me what was going on. Like, you want to come in for an interview? I sure do. Um, I came in for the interview. I talked with the current executive director, and at that point, she would let me know that she was retiring. And she had been with the agency for 25 years, and that intimidated me. a little bit. I'm like, okay, so here I am with experience with leadership and being a director and whatnot, but not really having a lot of experience dealing with the Asian community so much. I said, if I get this job, I have some really big shoes to fill. So I was a little discouraged, but I'm like, you know what? If this meant for me, it'll be meant for me. So I was placed here. I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful for it. I work with the best team. As you can allude to, instead of Alabama, they are the most passionate people that I think I have worked with in my entire career of working with social services, and they are just awesome. And I appreciate what they do because they make me look good and the agency look good.
They really do. I can't get enough of how excited I was, how inspired, how because of your leadership and seeing it mirrored by them
Mm-hmm.
through you, we're being able to put this event on November 1st. And I wrote it down. What it's meant for you. I have it on my refrigerator. What is meant for me will never pass me by. And so here
Yeah.
you are. And I love this story because I get to talk to young women all the time. You don't have to stay at the job you're at if you're miserable, right? And so the
Yeah.
fact that you just like, let me apply, and then
Yeah.
you just put it out there, like you said, you detached yourself away from it, and you get a phone call, and then not only do you show up and you're like, oh wow, this is way bigger than anything I could have imagined for myself, but then you're doing it so beautifully.
Thank you.
Oh, and with so much grace. And
Thank
I think I told you, I called my sister like, you're not going to believe this. This is a young Black woman who is leading this agency, and you're
you.
doing it so beautifully. And so I love that you share that story. I did not know that was your story. And I love that you share that story because I hope it encourages people, inspires people like I've been inspired by you to go ahead and apply. Go
Yes.
ahead and apply. You never know what you're
Never know.
capable of. And here you are. And
Absolutely.
you've been doing this now for 3 years, you said?
Yes. Almost 3 years. Yes.
And you guys have moved buildings since you've been the executive director, which is a huge deal as well.
Yes, we moved. Actually, it's been a year this month that we moved from a different location. The location we were in before, we were actually, it was a lot smaller, and because the agency had grown, um, we just had to move. And honestly, probably my first couple of months working with the agency while I was training, I looked at the building. I said, um, no, this is not working. The area is not working. This is not really conducive for somebody to actually feel come in and feel welcome. And we can do better than this. So I went through, searches probably 6 to 7 months into that job secretly, um, trying to find a different location for the agency to be housed in so that we could expand and we could grow. And now we are in a wonderful building. We have enough office spaces for all 65 of our employees to come in and work and just have a space that is welcoming for our clients to come in and they feel safe when they come in to work. The area is beautiful and it's just more inviting and more welcoming that a place you would want the aging consortium to actually represent the community that they're serving. So we made it happen.
Yes, you did, honey. I I am loving your story even more. And I'm gonna say the building is so beautiful. Again, besides just seeing how you were leading the 20 people I got to be introduced to during that breakfast a month or so ago, the building is amazingly gorgeous. I mean, and then when I got to tour it, I think it was just last week and got on the elevator, I was like, oh, okay. So I was, yes, you did the building, the space, the staff. It just blows my mind. And I want to do everything I can to make sure we get the word out about people. You did your part. The universe is meeting you halfway. So
Yes, yes.
this is so good. And so let's talk about that. As CAAC celebrates 50 years, what do you feel most proud of? You've already said so many things, but,
Mm.
and what are you most hopeful about as you maybe take on the next 20 years?
Yeah. So what I would say, that I'm most proud of the agency. Number one, that it actually exists. Because there is such a need for clients or people of aging or the disabled population and the services that they're in need of. Because when you really think about it, we're all aging. Every birthday, whether we want to, accept it or not, we are all aging. And I would say the work that we're doing right now here at the agency is an investment for our future. 20 years from now, if someone was looking at retirement, we want to make sure that we have services in place to make sure that when we're aging or in need of some type of care, that there's a place we can go to get that help. So what I'm really hoping for, obviously, since the agency has been around for almost 50 years, and there are still people in the Tri-County area that do not know we exist, or they get us confused with somebody else. Either one, I don't want it to be the the thing of the agency. I want everybody to know who CAAC is, what we do, who we are, and how we can help them. So just bringing awareness to the community, educating the community that we are here, letting them know we are here to serve them. And honestly, we like people to be proactive. We understand a lot of topics that we cover when it comes to aging and dealing with financial situations or dealing with legal situations. We don't think about those things until you actually need it. But we want people to know about us before they actually need it, so that they can be proactive instead of reactive, and get in and know about services before they actually need it. So we just really want to, our hope is for everybody to know about Central Alabama Aging Consortium and just invest in it, and let them know that we are here to serve them. All of our services are free. That is one thing that blew my mind. We don't charge the clients for anything. It's a free service. So what do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. And let me tell you, I've been a social worker for 26 years in the state of Alabama. I think I did tell you this. And I did not know what CAAC was. And I thought I knew what the resources were in Alabama. So I was embarrassed by that. But then I'm hoping I'm redeeming myself because we're gonna be talking to the coordinators in this special series, and so we're gonna talk about all the different programs. We talked about Senior RX yesterday, and Claire Culp, she is such a joy, and she's so passionate about the Senior RX program. But one of the things I have learned, because I've talked to Claire, I've talked to Monica, Monica Barnes, is even though if I thought I knew what CAAC was, I think I thought it was for the elderly. What I have learned, and what I think is a great distinction, is exactly what you're saying. Is for if you are aging, and all of us show up every day. If you get a new day, that means you aged a day. The programs and services are for, I mean, yes, there are some specifically for elderly, but even Claire's program with Senior RX, even though it's called Senior RX, is 18 plus. And talking to Monica, she's telling me she's getting football equipment for, people who might be caregivers who need, whose children are playing football games. And so the fact that you guys are not just for the elderly, and that it's for aging, emphasizing aging. If you woke up that morning, you aged another day, there's probably a service at CAAC that can help you.
Absolutely. And that's a misconception that we get all the time. People think we are just for, seniors or disabled persons. We have children on our program that were born with, developmental issues. So it's just about, it's just like you said, it's just about aging. And every day you are above ground, you are aging. So again, we want to kind of take that away from the community to let them know they're just not for seniors.
Absolutely. And I hope we're doing a good job right now doing that. And also just again talking about the space and what, you talking about what you're most proud of. Y'all come out on November 1st. to the screening of Remember Me. One, you'll get to see this beautiful space that Yolanda is talking about. If you're not near retirement, you'll know this beautiful building exists with all these services. And if you're a social worker or somebody in social service field who maybe didn't know, this will be an opportunity for you to get to know the coordinators. Are a lot of the coordinators will be there, and they'll be able to talk to us about their programs. We'll get to see this film, and the building is beautiful, y'all. It is absolutely beautiful. And we'll make sure that we have a link to register in your podcast description. Yolanda, what are the biggest gaps or unmet needs that you see, though, in the aging and disability landscape? And how do you think CAAC is working to address them?
That is a great question. As a area agency on aging, we obviously do a lot. But there's always room for improvement. The need for services, in my opinion, kind of changed with the advance in education of certain chronic illnesses, disabilities, and other challenging diagnoses. So we really want to try to make sure that we're keeping up with what's going on in the medical realm, especially when it comes to the diagnosis of, Alzheimer's and dementia. So just making sure that we are up to par with that so we can ensure that we help assist our clients. So some unmet needs, not that there's a lot, but it kind of evolves as the agency evolves and or things evolve actually, is the use of technology for our seniors. A lot of things we do as younger adults is all technology. When you schedule an appointment, they send you a link. Go onto this link, fill out this, fill out that. When you're just a lot of things that our seniors are not privy to. They've never been educated about it. They're used to things being on paper format, filling it out. Even sometimes that's a struggle. My parents are seniors. My dad is, of course, is a disabled vet. And in order for him to get the services that he needed as a veteran, a lot of the stuff had to go through technology. And if I was not able to help him through that, I'm not sure he would have been able to get those services. Because all that has to be done before a social worker even comes out. So, and as an agency, what we are trying to do is look for particular grants that we can get funded to kind of help with the awareness of the technology and actually host inside our agency a technology class geared towards seniors. And hopefully we can put that into our 18 senior centers so that our center managers can actually then teach the seniors on how to use their phones, how to use their iPads, because a lot of them have phones, how to use technology and do it in a correct way to where you're not missing out on anything. Again, another thing that we see that I want to say it's an unmet need, but it's something that is increasingly getting worse are those phone scams that seniors get caught into. It's the stories that we have heard. It's sad how a lot of seniors get scammed out of their years and years of savings. So just really bringing more awareness to the community and our senior community about those scams, what to look for in a scam or the letters that they might get in the mail asking for their identification, the social security information, their Medicaid number. A lot of Medicaid fraud is going on. So just really empowering our seniors to be their best and not be taken advantage of. So we offer trainings and provide information, and we host conferences every year to teach individuals about those scams and how to be wary about when you get those phone calls about asking personal questions, identification questions that can possibly cost you a lifetime of just pain and just cannot imagine just losing your life savings that you saved up for years for someone who's in another country, on the other side of the world, just to scam you and just to wipe out your bank account. So those are really the two main things I can probably say that we really were working on, especially in the next year. We can try to maybe incorporate that and just to kind of bridge the gap with that to make sure that our seniors have that empowerment to kind of be able to do those type of things.
I appreciate that so much. And I think you're right. Those two things even go together.
Yes.
If you're able to teach them how to use their iPhones and iPads and all the smart technology that we have available to us, then you're able to help diminish how they're being scammed, because they'll be able to tell the difference and or ban it or avoid it altogether if possible. So I love that. And I love that you guys are looking for grants and more funding, because I love that you guys are able to offer your services for free. I think that's a big deal that you're able to offer your services for free. But let's move on to the film that we're going to be showing. Remember Me, which is produced by C. Nathaniel Brown. And we're going to be able to do a screening of it. It's a dementia and Alzheimer's film. We're going to be able to do a screening of it at the CAAC on November 1st, along with a panel and community discussion. And so, what resonates with you about its themes of memory, dignity, and caregiving, especially as the executive director of the CAAC?
So, when it comes to aging, things start to fail. Your memory fails, physical ability starts to fail or decline in certain things. But you have to remember, people are still people. They want to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their age. That's just their right to do that. And what comes to mind when I'm thinking about the Remember Me is a quote that I love to hear from Maya Angelou. It's something to the effect where people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I really truly believe in that, because even though, just think about what people with, dementia, Alzheimer's, their memory may have failed. They may not be able to walk as fast or do things they normally would have done, but they still have feelings. They know what love feels like. They know what neglect feels like, but they're still people, and they deserve the right to be treated with dignity and respect. Because not even just with the aging community, at any given time, anything can happen to any of us. God forbid, that could put us in a situation where we're disabled. And we want to be treated with dignity and respect, and we people to care for us and just love on us the way it was intended for us to be done by human beings. So that's what I take away from it.
I love that. And I love that you brought in my favorite, Dr. Maya Angelou. Yes, she is my favorite. And you know, it's such a great answer, Yolanda, that even if they forget your name, they'll remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And that reminds me, I had the honor of supervising social workers to clinical licensure, and we were talking about this in supervision yesterday about how do we know we're kind of getting caught up in the professionalism of it all, forgetting the person's story, that this is a human being in front, not just like, I gotta get this assessment done, I gotta get this intake done, I gotta get this treatment plan revised, and remembering, how am I making this person feel, slowing down long enough to be like, how do I feel? If I feel hurried and rushed and anxious to get this thing done, then of course I'm mirroring that towards them as well. So slowing down long enough to remember, how am I making the person in front of me feel? And the fact that you brought that up, even as we care for our disabled or just those, the least of these, which is why we do this work, right? When we're caring for the least of these, how are we making them feel, and checking in with that? So that was such a beautiful, beautiful answer.
Yeah, because like I said, any given day, it could be one of us.
It really could.
It could be, absolutely.
It really could. I recently did a podcast episode where she was telling me her sister is 52 and was in some type of, I can't remember what happened, but she's disabled now. And that was not their story. They were, she's the younger sister and then this sister. And And now she's caring for her disabled sister. And that too was a reminder for me of aging isn't 65 plus, aging is 52.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And how am I making that person feel? So
Right.
thank you again for such beautiful reminders. Yolanda, we're coming up to the end of our podcast episode, but I have a couple more questions
Okay.
for you. It's been such a pleasure. I'm loving getting to do this. We did not bring up your mama in
Yes.
the podcast, and I just know she is going to be listening. and
She will.
I just know she is. And I'm like, I am not leaving this space without acknowledging the woman who raised such a remarkable woman
Thank you.
in you. And so she is a seamstress. And I was thinking, did she make your favorite dresses, or if are there any stories, memorable stories, or advice that your mama gave you, just like you said you took away from the people you were the caregivers when you were 18, 19 years old? Or is there any advice your mama gave you that you can leave our audience with today?
Oh, absolutely. My mom, she is, when you're talking about Proverb 31 woman,
Yes, I love
she,
Proverbs
she
31.
exemplifies it
Yeah.
all. Very strong, very soft spoken,
Mhm.
love people, and would do anything on this earth for her family. And I, as a mom now and a wife now, if I'm half the person that she is as a wife and a mother, I think that's, it just exemplifies the fact that she's just that strong of a person, and how she has raised me to be the woman that I am today, to be able to care for my son and be a wife to my husband. But my mama always tell me, with anything I do, put God first. Put God first. You put God first, He will never leave you astray, and He'll never lead you in the wrong direction. So that's something that has stuck with me since I can remember as a very young child. So that's just something that it's just been ingrained in my brain, though, as I've grown up and matured and things, just and to see her um as a mother and as a wife, how she led her life, and you would never know anything about her because she would go to God in prayer about it. I mean, the house could be on fire, the car could be, broke down, but she praised God through all of it because she knew everything was going to be all right. So that's something I take away from my mom. And just the fact that, her soft spokenness and that the love that she encompassed with her children and now her grandchildren. It was, again, how she made you feel when you walk into her house. Nothing but true maternal love, whether or not you were her child or a stranger on the street. She just showed love, and she loved God, and she wants that for her children and her grandchildren. So she's the best.
And Yolanda, you could see that you embody that with how I keep going on and on about how those 18 women had to get up and speak for that breakfast more. And you were just cheering them on and encouraging them, but yet sticking to, I know this is hard, but you're still going to do it energy.
Yeah.
That energy you're speaking of with your mom is so embodied in how you're leading the
Mm,
CAAC, and also then into plus all of the energies of I now know that you're also putting God first in this.
yes.
They're blessed to have you.
Yeah. Thank
They
you.
are super blessed to have you. So
Thank
I love
you.
that. Are there any final words of advice you would like to leave our audience with today?
I guess always, what I have just learned in my career, as I've alluded to, in this interview, don't be afraid. Just step out on faith. What's meant for you, it will be for you. If you walk up to a situation and that door closes, that's okay. Because guess what? It might be a window. So it's always
And or a way bigger door like the
a way bigger door.
CAAC with this
Absolutely,
two floors
absolutely.
and an elevator that you are the executive director of. at
Yeah.
such a young age is historic. God wants to do historic things in your life.
Yes.
And you are absolute proof of that. He wants to do historic things in your life.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Thank you so much, Yolanda, for joining the Goddesses of Social Work podcast.
Thank you.
We are super, super excited about joining you on November 1st for the Remember Me film screening and documentary of that particular film and the community gathering, where we'll have expert panels to talk about all the different types of dementia and Alzheimer's and caregiving as well. So we'll see all of you then.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. We are glad you were here. If you like this episode, please come back to hear more stories of the journeys through social work, and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. See you next time here on the Goddesses of Social Work podcast.